Let's say you're asked to order this part number, which is described as a watertight EMI/RFI cable sealing backshell with strain relief. With any complex part number, it's critical to understand the backshell before ordering, because each character encodes a specific feature. Misreading even one element can lead to buying a backshell that won't fit the connector, the cable, the environment, or the required standards. So let's identify what this part number actually specifies and confirm whether it will mate properly with the intended connector and cable. If you've worked with this numbering system, you might already suspect the manufacturer. My first assumption is Glenair, since backshells are a major part of their catalog. I start by opening their circular connector backshells and accessories catalog and searching for part. I don't enter the entire part number, just the first 4 characters, 390H, to keep the search broad. That takes me to page 39-1, which shows several part numbers beginning with 390H, confirming the manufacturer is Glenair, but this catalog does not cover our specific backshell. To find the correct datasheet, you need some knowledge of Glenair's numbering structure. 390 is the series, and 003 is the basic part number. So the correct document to search for is Glenair 390HS003. That's the datasheet you need. Now, we will use the datasheet to get an understanding of the part number. 390 is the product series. The next character is the connector designator. In our part number, the connector designator is an H. This designator identifies a backshell that is specifically designed to mate with MIL-DTL 38999 series 3 and 4 connectors. The S indicates a straight backshell. 003 is the basic part number. It identifies a specific backshell construction type within Series 39. In this case, it signifies a watertight EMI/RFI cable sealing backshell with strain relief, Type A, rotatable coupling, low profile. The next character indicates the finish. We can determine what the M stands for in the Glenair material and finish table. This chart presents a selection of the broad range of base materials, plating options, specifications, and codes available for Glenair connectors and accessories. The M code stands for Glenair's standard electroless nickel finish. Back to our part number. We see that the number 13 stands for the shell size and refers us to Table 1. But this datasheet is not complete and does not include Table 1. What you can do is open the circular connector backshells and accessories catalog and search for one of the Series 39 backshells. On this page, you can find the shell size and shell code table, and further down the page you can view the measurements. Here we can see the thread for a backshell with a shell size of 13. This is useful information when selecting a connector to mate with this backshell, because a connector will have a similar thread, but with G instead of an H. G indicates an external thread, and H indicates an internal thread. Back to our part number to look at the cable entry size. Table X gives us the min and max cable range, and gives a few more detailed measurements, T, W, and X, which are shown in a drawing on the same datasheet. Note that this is a picture of a strain relief Type C saddle clamp, which is the next character in our part number. Moving on to the final character. It indicates the length of the straight backshells. The 8 indicates the length of the backshell is 4 inches. So that is how you decode this backshell part number. Keep in mind that the 390HS003 series is an older line that Glenair no longer highlights in their catalog, which is why it doesn't appear in the connector backshells and accessories catalog. As a result, we had to rely on both the main catalog and the 390HS003 datasheet to determine all the details of the part number. If you're sourcing older technology that's difficult to locate and you can't find a datasheet for the part, reach out to your Glenair representative and request a relevant catalog page or drawing. Glenair does not obsolete parts, so the information will still exist even if it's no longer featured prominently. You can also use a legacy part number to build a current, equivalent part number using the catalog. Let's walk through that process now. In the catalog, on page 39-1, you'll find a 390 series with adapter code H. Let's select the 053 basic part number by turning to page 39-16. Here is our old technology part number. These first 5 characters match our old technology part number. 390 is the product series. Adapter code H indicates this accessory fits MIL, DTL, 38999 Series 3 and Series 4 connectors. The S indicates it is a straight backshell. The basic part number is 053, which signifies an EMI plus environmental backshells, which is an improvement from the watertight EMI/RFI feature of the legacy connector. Moving down the page, we see we can get the same material finish, the same shell size, and the same entry size. But note that the entry size exceeds the shell size range, and a Style 2 transition adapter will be included with your new part number. Page 39-17 shows more details. Maximum cable entry for a shell size 13 is 0.437 inches. Our cable has a max diameter of 0.930 inches. An entry size of 16 supports a cable diameter of 0.937 inches. So the Style 2 backshell is required. Next, we select the strain relief, which is indicated by the character C. The problem is that the character C is not an available selection. If you look through the catalog, you will find that C is mentioned on page 39-20, which indicates it stands for a saddle clamp. For this reason, select the H-back on page 39-16. Finally, we select the number 8 for a 4-inch backshell length. The new backshell is a clear improvement, and here's why. The 390HS053 series is built as a full EMI and environmental protection backshell, offering enhanced shielding and sealing performance. In comparison, the 390HS003 series provides watertight EMI and RFI sealing, but lacks the upgraded grounding features and advanced environmental protection found in the 053 design. Because they come from different design families, their geometries aren't the same. The 003 series uses a low-profile style, while the 053 series, especially when Style 2 adapter is required, can introduce slight changes to overall length and diameter. These differences should be considered when ensuring proper fit in the installation. To finish off this video, let's look at the cable and connector being used on the cable assembly. We'll start with the cable, M24643/31-04, UN. We will use the following document to break down the part number. Moving down the page, the M is a prefix. 24643 is the specification number. 31 is the specification sheet number, and the 04 tells us to refer to the specification sheet. Here is specification sheet 31. We can tell this by the 31 right here. Further down the page, we see more information about our cable. The -04 selects the 14-pair cable configuration. Back to the M24643 specification. We see the U stands for unarmored and N stands for not shielded. Switching back to Table 1, we see we are given two different overall cable diameters. We need to understand the LS2SU and LS2SUS cable types. Oh, and notice the typo. For LS2SU, LS stand for low smoke and halogen free, 2 stand for twisted pair, S stands for overall shield, and U stands for unarmored. The same goes for LS2SUS, except that the last S stands for double shield. Since 04UN does not indicate a double shield, we are dealing with an LS2SU type cable, which makes sense since a single shield would indicate a smaller diameter cable. One more important item of information to pull from the specification page is the gauge of the wires inside the cable. Scrolling up to page 1, the first item of construction, non-watertight, indicates the gauge is 22. This will allow us to determine if the wires will fit in the pins of the connector. Let's move on to the connector. For this, we will use this catalog, which covers the 38999 Series 3 connectors. The table of contents shows we can turn to pages 25 to 27 to break down our part number. On page 25, we can see that D38999 designates a military specification connector, specifically a Series 3 connector. The next number, 26, indicates the shell style is a straight plug. The following character is the service class, which tells us the type of metal used in the connector's construction. The letter C represents the shell size, which corresponds to shell size 13. The number 35 refers to the insert arrangement, so the shell size -insert arrangement is 13-35, which you can use to find your connector on page 10. This page gives information like the number of contacts and the contact size. The letter S of our part number indicates that the connector uses socket contacts, and the letter A specifies the keying position. On page 31, we find a detailed illustration of our connector along with precise measurements. Here is a summary of the part number. Since we know the shell is C, we can determine the V thread, which is M18X1-6G, which will fit our back shell that has a thread size of M10X1-6H. You can find the shell size and insert arrangements on pages 6 to 9. Our connector has a total of 22 contacts with a contact size of 22. If you scroll to the top of the page, the contact size is actually 22D. With this information, you can turn to pages 18 and 19 to find the part number for these contacts. Knowing the part number, we can use the Daniels Manufacturing Corporation Tooling Guide to find the tools required to install these contacts. Page 53 is where the M39029 contacts tool selection guide starts. Scroll down to the 38999 series 3 page and find your contact part number. The table shows the crimp tools, positioners, insertion, and removal tools required when working with the socket contact. The indent crimp tools start on page 3, and the AFM8 is featured on page 5 and has a part number of M24520/1-01. On page 8, you can find the part number for the K40 positioner. At the bottom of the same page are instructions on how to read a K positioner and determine the correct selector setting for the crimp tool. The insertion and extractions tools are detailed starting on page 41. On page 43, you will find one version of your removal and extraction tools, and on page 44, you will find the other version. You can also find the MH860 Adjustable Middle Range 8 Indent Crimp tool on page 9. On page 12, you can find its part number and the positioner part number. And the bottom of the page shows you how to read the 86 type positioner. There you have it. We covered everything to ensure you order the correct cable, connector, backshell, and tools to build your cable assembly.